the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast with your host, Jackie Pilosoff.
No one should have to go through a divorce feeling alone and isolated. The Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast is a production of Divorced Girl Smiling, where every show is 30 minutes aimed to empower you, help you feel validated and understood, and connect you with some of the best divorce professionals in the industry. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and start smiling as you join us right now for the Divorced Girl Smiling Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always at divorcedgirlsmiling.com. Before we get started, I want to say something about the month of April. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. It's a reminder of how important it is to create safe, stable environments for our kids. But if you're a co-parent with somebody who struggles with alcohol, that safety can sometimes feel out of control. SoberLink puts you back in the driver's seat. SoberLink is a high-tech sobriety tracker that ensures that your co-parent is sober during their parenting time, so you never have to wonder. Here's how it works. Your co-parent submits tests at scheduled times. There's facial recognition that verifies it's really them. Tamper sensors detect any funny business, and real-time results are sent directly to your phone or email. No more he said, she said, no more anxiety, just clarity, accountability, and peace of mind that can hold up in court. So take the next step towards protecting your child's safety. Visit soberlink.com/DGS for Divorced Girl Smiling to get $50 off your device. I also want to tell you about a wonderful financial advisor. The name is Vestor Capital, and specifically Elaine Moss and Pete Mullins, a CDFA, are a team that specializes in helping women through transition. I have known them since 2015. I've been a client since 2016 and can't say enough about both the service and performance of the company. If you want to learn more, you can find Vestor in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. And I also want to tell you about a really good divorce attorney in Boston. Her name is Catherine Becker Good, and she's been a divorce attorney for over 30 years. She tries to settle her cases through mediation, but she can litigate. Catherine is just so lovely. She's so calm, she's so professional, has so much dedication. Really, I could not feel more strongly about recommending her. If you want to learn more about Catherine, you can find her at cbgoodlaw.com. What is the ultimate act of love for your kids? Is it showing them love, giving them a lot of hugs, giving them money, sending them to college? What is it? What is the act that would make your kids feel the most loved? Well, guess what? My guest is going to answer that question. I'm going to tell you her answer. It's actually healthy co-parenting. And that is what we're going to talk about today. My guest says that people think divorce harms children when in fact it's not the divorce itself, it's the conflict that goes along with the divorce. So with that said, I want to introduce you to Sherry Morris. Sherry is a lawyer turned divorce coach, has been a coach for several years. She's a parenting coordinator, and she's also the creator of her parenting course called Co-Parenting Compass. Hi, Sherry.
Jackie, it's a pleasure to be here today.
Always nice to talk to you. And Sherry, I loved how you said the ultimate act of love for your kids is healthy co-parenting. Explain why you said that.
I think it's true for a lot of reasons. And by the way, this is true whether you're in a marital or non-marital relationship, right? So conflict, whether you're married or divorced, is the thing that impacts kids, and modeling to them the way you can cooperate and take care for and of them is of the utmost benefit to your kids. And studies again and again reiterate this fact. So I think it's clear that low conflict in marriage or outside of it as you parent is extremely important for the kids.
And the reason it's the ultimate act of love is because it's this gift you're giving your kids that is going to give them such a better chance at a happy, healthy life.
It's true. And I think we're modeling to them the relationships they will have. And by modeling to them, even in the face of difficulty, even when you have a difficult relationship with someone or someone is difficult with you, that you can figure out a path forward that's right for you, maybe boundaried for you, but also healthy for the system.
Okay, now you wrote here in your article, children thrive in a low conflict environment. So tell me what you mean by that. What
So
does what does a low conflict environment look like?
So low conflict's an interesting word because some people think if you don't talk about what's going on, then it's not happening, but you feel the simmering tension underneath. So low conflict means no simmering tension and no loud shouting either. So we're really looking for, we can have differences and we don't need between us as parents to have what I think is the ultimate terrible thing for children, which is the power struggle, right? It's really means we can't get out of our own way to parent these children. We don't always need our own way. We just need them to feel loved and held and heard and validated.
I'm so glad you brought up the fact that low conflict doesn't necessarily mean that you are harboring and holding it in. In other words, like you're not yelling and screaming, so you're in a low conflict environment. That's not the case at all. Children can feel, tell me if you agree with this, parents who are have this hostility and resentment that's like quiet and it's like um tension in the air and that uncomfortable and you have to walk on eggshells, right? That's
Absolutely.
even worse, I think, than
And
yelling.
I think that's right. And I think that is the challenge. How do we find that piece? And first of all, we're assuming we don't have anyone in the system with a personality disorder, right? Those can be really hard to manage. But short of that, it's how do we work through skills like communication, problem solving, and emotional regulation for ourselves, by the way. Yes, we can make mistakes. Yes, kids can know we all do that. We might shout or not be able to talk about something at one moment, but in the next moment, watching that repair in general is what teaches them not what we say to do, but how we actually behave is what they're likely to do.
It's so much more important for them to watch you and do what you do than for you to tell them what to do and then do the opposite.
Isn't it true? Aren't we all good at that, right? We sure know the things we should do, but it's when, especially in the moments perhaps when we make mistakes, that we get escalated and we turn to our kid and say, "Hey, I'm sorry. I was stressed from work or something happened at the grocery store or whatever it is. I had a fight with my friend and I'm upset about that." Letting them know you can have a range of emotions, but also that it's okay and healthier to try to repair that and then come back to what their essential need is and just listen and be able to validate their emotion, even if you're not giving them their way.
Love it. All right. Now, you wrote that children feel secure and loved when their parents work as a team. Like, and I want to talk about this because it's so important for divorced parents to be a team. And people listening are thinking, well, we're not a team. And, but tell my listeners why it's important to be a team, even though you have all this resentment and anger with your ex. How do you become a team and why is it important?
It's not a straight and easy path, but it's possible. So I think the key is to get yourself out of this power struggle. Recognize that for the kids, you hope you both have essential goals. So even if you disagree with your ex on every other issue, if you can figure out a path forward that supports your kids, that's how you get out of your own way. So, in other words, when you're fighting your ex about money, you're not fighting them about the kids. And it takes effort and time and work. It takes neutral communication. But what can happen to kids is they feel torn, right? They may even, God forbid, and we can see it as kids approach the teenage years, telling one parent one thing because they want to be that person for their parent, telling the other parent another thing, and then they get stuck between and they have a hard time having healthy relationships. So That's the worst thing that can happen, and it will happen. It's predictable. So by working as a team, it means get only your own side in line. We can't control what that other person's doing. So make your communication neutral, even when they're triggering to you. Don't let them see you sweat.
100%. So I grew up with married parents. I raised my kids as a divorced parent, so I know both. It doesn't matter if you're married or divorced. Your kids, I'm telling people listening, are going to pull things like, Mom, can I stay out till 11 tonight? No, you know our deal. Your curfew is 10. So what do? They call their dad and they go, Dad, can I stay out till 11? And the dad feels guilty for the divorce and says, Yeah, no problem. I'll talk to your mother. She shouldn't be doing that to you. She shouldn't be, you can stay out till 11. Now, right there, the kid is thinking, Oh, my parents aren't on the same page at all. I can do whatever I want. It makes them feel like unstable, insecure, even though they don't want to be disciplined. I think that psychologically, I meant to say subconsciously,
Yes.
they thrive when they know that their parents are controlling them. I mean, not controlling in a bad way.
Setting those guidelines, those boundaries, having those rules, kids do better with those. And dad probably said, if it's dad, it could be mom. I feel guilty about the divorce. Yeah, you can do what you want. But also, it may not even be dad that has to stay up till 11. Let's make it midnight, 1 a.m., right? To wait for that child to return. So we really have to be careful with boundaries too. So if your child is with you, you should probably be the one to create those boundaries. And then if they are with your co-parent, it may be different, a little bit of parallel, not co-parenting. They may have a different curfew, and you respect that. So you also don't reach out to dad or mom when they have them and say, Hey, I only let them stay out until 10. What are you doing, you SOB? Keep it neutral. Understand there may be differences, and kids can be okay even with some different rules. It's wonderful if you can agree, but if you can't, at least respect the boundaries of your co-parent. I have a rule in my co-parenting work that I don't want to hear about the organic broccoli. And I learned this from the great Karen Bennell, who retired recently and said this so well. But if your kids aren't eating, organic broccoli at your co-parents, they will survive and maybe even thrive. And you can do at your home what needs to be done for them. And you can support them while at dad's or mom's, and not question them relentlessly about what they're eating or doing. So I think that's kind of the key. Stay in your lane and be as supportive if you can. If you can't get that cooperation from your co-parent, then recognize there might be differences and don't lash out.
I love this. And also, we're talking about being unable to control what happens at the other person's house. You got to pick your battles, pick what's really important. The organic broccoli isn't that important as let's say you have a problem with your child being able to have their boyfriend or girlfriend sleep in the same bed. That's a little bigger of a deal. So you got to pick what's really important to you.
And still learn that you have to let go what you can't control. And I think it's the hardest thing as a co-parent, especially Jackie, in my experience. If you've been the primary parent in marriage, you're the one that made all those rules. And now you're asked to give up at least 50% of the control. And so the work we do is not on your co-parent, but on ourselves.
Oh, we are going to get into that. Okay. We're going to take a short break. But first, I want to tell everyone you're listening to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff. I'm your host. My guest is Sherry Morris, divorce coach, parenting coordinator, and creator of Co-Parenting. The website is coparentingacademy.com. The name of the course is Co-Parenting Compass. That's
You got it. Sorry, it's confusing, Jackie.
Okay, Sherry and I are talking about healthy co-parenting. We have to take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about the benefits of cooperative co-parenting for children. And then we're going to talk about what to do if you have a really high conflict ex and you're the one that wants the peace, but he or she is giving you a really hard time and a run for your money. We'll be right back. The finance aspect of a divorce can feel stressful and daunting and confusing. How do I know how much money I need to live comfortably? Am I going to stay in my home? How am I going to prepare my taxes without my spouse? What should I ask for in the divorce? These are all questions that most people don't even know how to begin answering, and they have so little confidence in themselves when it comes to anything financially related. So guess what? Did you know that there's somebody you can hire who will actually hold your hand during the entire divorce to help you make important financial decisions? His name is Hirsch Sermon, and I have known Hirsch for quite a few years. He has an MBA, he's a CPA, and he's a certified divorce financial analyst. He doesn't take people's money to invest. He actually is a coach that will help you make the best decisions. If you want to learn more about Hirsch, you can find him on his website, which is lifecycle.financial. I also want to tell you about a really good realtor if you live in the Atlanta area. Her name is Holly Norman, and Holly is a real estate agent, has been for several years, but she's also a certified divorce real estate expert, a CDRE. There are not too many of these in the country. Holly took that bold step 10 years ago to become a solo agent and specialize in helping people buy and sell homes during and after divorce. If you want to learn more about Holly, you can find her on her website, which is chrisalexrealestate.com. And you can find both Hirsch and Holly in the Trusted Professional section of Divorced Girl Smiling. Welcome back to the Divorced Girl Smiling podcast. My name is Jackie Pilosoff, and I'm your host. And today we're talking about the ultimate act of love for your kids, healthy co-parenting. Those actually are the words of my guest, Sherry Morris, divorce coach, parenting coordinator. And if you want to find Sherry, the best place to find her is deardivorcecoach.com. Sherry's been a divorce coach for, let me guess, and then, because I know it's a lot of years, like 8 years?
10 now, Jackie, unbelievable.
10 years. She's a former attorney, really smart, really driven, went through a divorce, has kids, so understands what you're going through. And so do I. All right, let's get into the benefits of cooperative co-parenting for children. Now, is the opposite of cooperative co-parenting parallel parenting?
That's a great question. I don't think so. Parallel parenting is certainly a different style, which is to say you could still be cooperative and have parallel, meaning different boundaries, different rules. Maybe you're not communicating a lot. So as I measure these things, cooperative is great and you're co-parenting, having a similar set of guidelines and rules. And then you move through the spectrum and including parallel parenting. The most conflict ridden is probably where you have no idea what's going on at your co-parent's house. You have no sense of the boundaries or rules, and there's really only toxic communication.
Okay, so tell me some of the benefits of the good kind of co-parenting. And go ahead.
I think the good kind of co-parenting, also, I don't want to idealize it. Not everyone has a conscious uncoupling in which they are singing Kumbaya and have always the leading with the best interest of the children. We wish that were true. But if you don't have that, you can still have an okay kid and an okay time. So from my perspective, the ideal is to be able to communicate and you keep the communication child-centered. You're not talking about your divorce. You're not talking about yourself. You're focused on the kid and you write things down and you lead by example. So you're doing that with your co-parent. It's more likely that they will respond in kind. Sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes years to get there. But the bottom line is you are doing the work needed for yourself and you're not trying in any way to control what your co-parent does because you can't. And so you're just going to do your best to keep things focused on your child.
I love that. And that's easy. You just do your best. No one can take that away from you. You'll feel good about yourself, right? I mean, that is so basic, but so true. You do the best you can. You love your kids and you want the best for them. And that's really all you can control.
And you're going to make mistakes. And I want there to be a grace for that. Sometimes you get escalated, you may be reactive. The reason I suggest waiting, for example, up to 24 hours to respond to an email and keeping communication by email, it's a lot less reactive of a medium. It's less, so many people text now, of course, but if it's not necessary, put it in email. Create a separate email that you only check for co-parenting purposes. Check it once every day or once every 48 hours. If there is an emergency, someone's on fire, going to the hospital, then people text. Otherwise, it gives us space and time to think before we hit send.
Okay, I love that advice. Let's move on. The first benefit of cooperative co-parenting for children is emotional stability. Conflict and tension creates stress for children that can lead to anxiety, depression, and behavioral issues. In contrast, a cooperative co-parenting relationship fosters a sense of stability and security.
It really speaks for itself, Jackie. You can imagine all the reasons that children don't have a sense of safety if they see the adults in their lives not having a sense of safety. If mom or dad makes everything with the co-parent a big deal, that makes them feel unsafe. Well, what's going on for me in this? What role? This is about me. Maybe I'm the problem. So to the extent we do our own work, which is to say, I can't be so worried about that all the time. I have to have some trust that my co-parent has got this, and then practice that skill. The children feel held and safer.
I love it. Number two, healthy relationship skills. So I'm going to say that from this one, you're talking about healthy co-parenting so that kids can see the way you communicate and they will then communicate that way in relationships in their lives for their whole lives.
I mean, that's the hope. And look, we all, whether they end up married with children, they certainly are likely to work. And we all know people who, even within the work context, can't self regulate and have email responses that are inappropriate. By role modeling, even in personal relationships, how to do that, it's likely to teach them how to do that professionally as well.
Okay. Now, the next one is stronger parent child bonds. So tell me how being a more cooperative co-parent, are you saying that this is going to help you bond better with your child?
I think it's true. I see it all the time because children feel safe. They're going to be in a space where they trust you when something goes awry to tell you something. It's a place of safety. If they see you as a high conflict or difficult personality, ultimately over time, they're not going to feel that safety and they're less likely to turn to you.
Wow. Wow, that's a benefit for kids and parents. Okay, next one is reduced anxiety and guilt. So we're talking about guilt of the children. Are you saying kids start to feel guilty if their parents aren't co-parenting well?
Well, they can wonder if they're the problem, right? It's misplaced guilt. They aren't the problem. They were, born and now are being raised, but they can think, I'm never enough. And that builds anxiety. It can build feelings of guilt. And we don't obviously want that for our children. So let's not do that. Let's help them feel held. And also, there's this great expression, I've got this, as a parent. It's not theirs to figure out what to do about dad or mom. And you are going to communicate as the adult in the relationship.
And Sherry, that's not easy to do if you are hysterically crying and you feel like a child yourself because you're so upset. You've never been in this situation. You don't really know who to turn to. You're scared. You're feeling awful. And you are we telling people they need to fake it?
That's a great question, Jackie. First of all, I want people to know there is support. So right away, if you're in this position, there's good coaching, there's good therapy. I'm telling you as an adult, it's your responsibility. It's my responsibility to do the work, right? So I think I'm telling you, you can behave in line with what you know your ultimate values are, even before you've internalized them with your children. So fake it till you feel it. I'm hoping you don't have to fake it long. Get the help you need, and then you can pursue this road in a really authentic way.
I just love that. Okay, let's move on to the benefits of cooperative co-parenting for parents. So we just went over the kids. Now, for the parents, you wrote less stress and conflict because frequent arguments and miscommunications create emotional exhaustion. I love the way you put that because haven't you ever felt just exhausted from all of the resentment and anger and conflict?
It's so true. And I like to think of it this way. Is your co-parent sitting in this place of anxiety, stress, and conflict? Maybe not. And here you are wasting all your good energy on them. So, if for no other reason than not to give them the satisfaction of that, do the work yourself so that you're not depleted by them. Remember, it's up to us. I like to think literally of a fish hook, and we've got to unhook, right? We've got to figure out what's our role in this? What can we do to feel better? And by role, I don't mean to blame or shame. I mean, we all play a role in a dynamic of communication with others.
Okay, number 2, more effective parenting. That's pretty we've kind of been talking about the whole
Yes.
time. Okay, but another one is personal growth and resilience.
This is an interesting one. I truly believe, I have this personal belief, and I think you shared a bit. If you haven't been through divorce, working in the divorce, we're much more empathetic having been through divorce, right? And understanding what it really is. And I think part of it is we all have a chance to grow and to be more resilient because of the difficulty. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. So view this as an opportunity rather than a hindrance. It's a mindset shift, but it matters. And you can come out the other side knowing more about how to deal with difficult people. You never imagined it would be your former intimate partner, but guess what? It is. And if you can do that, you're going to be so much stronger as a person. And by the way, your children see that too.
They do, and also you're gonna love yourself. You're gonna
Mhm.
be, "Wow, I'm really proud of the way I handled that," and then that's when you really that resilience bounces back, and you just are a happier person in general.
It is so, so true. And if anyone's listening that thinks that can't be true, I ask you to really, first of all, look at what's going on for you, examine it, and then turn to get the help you need because you can be on the other side of that, no matter how difficult your co parent is.
I wanna move on to people listening who are sitting here thinking, "Well, this all sounds great to me, but what happens when you don't know my situation? My ex is impossible. He's so mean all the time. He never wants to talk. He has shut me out. He's impossible to communicate with." What advice do you have for those people?
So, assuming you have to communicate in some fashion, they're just logistics, for example. I love Bill Eddy's method, which is BIF, which means write it down in email and keep it brief, information centric, friendly tone. It doesn't mean you're overly friendly, but you also don't use an antagonizing tone and a firm boundary. So, what you need in that email with a deadline by which you need to do something. And if you know they won't respond at all or have a nonsensical, toxic response, you can even have a great sentence in there. If I don't hear by X, I'm going to do this by Y. And there are a few issues you can't unilaterally decide, but in general, for much of the minutia of life, it's a great tip and tool to use.
I can't believe I've never heard that last thing. I didn't know what the last F stood for.
Yeah.
But, it's so interesting because the most frustrating part about this is that you can't control someone.
Mhm.
And so people just are frustrated and they're so disappointed and they're angry because they can't control it. Well, what you just described, Sherry, you can control it. This is what you can do. You send an email with the biff thing, and then at the end, you say, "Here's what I'm going to do if I don't hear from you." And then you just do it.
That's it.
Absolutely great advice. All right, what about parallel parenting?
So sometimes if you have one of these extremely difficult co-parents, then what you're going to have to do is you disengage from each other. You communicate only when necessary. You can still provide stability. It just means you're going to know a lot less about what's going on in your co-parent's home, especially if your children are younger, but you're going to get the job done. I find over communication with a really extremely toxic co-parent can make things worse because you're not getting satisfaction, you're not hearing back. So keep it to a minimum and just have in your home certain routines for your kids and assume that's going to be the case in your co-parents.
Okay, I have another tip. I want to know what you think about this.
Oh, yes.
Try to accept it. Try to just say, I have to accept that this is the way it's going to be. It might change someday or it might never change, but accepting it just means like, I'm going to give up. And I don't say that in a negative way because, if you say, oh, just give up, people go, well, why would you give up? Don't give up. But in this case, would you tell people give up?
In the best way. I love to think of giving up as radical acceptance.
Yes.
And sometimes in our society, it's really hard to do because you are surrounded by this notion that if your co-parenting isn't perfect, there's something you have brought to the table that's wrong. But honestly, it doesn't have to be the case. So radically accepting your situation for what it is also role models to your children that you can deal with difficulty. And there is some difficulty that has to be dealt with. And let's not forget, we're teaching them how to have a relationship with a difficult person. So the more boundary you are, the more you're able to accept it for what it is and quit trying to shift it. Sometimes, by the way, transformationally, that's when the shift occurs. Because maybe, just maybe, Jackie, your co-parent felt badgered, right? It's never enough. Whatever I do isn't good enough. And if you stop that chain of pestering, of over communication, even if you think it's necessary, things can and do get better. But even if they don't, radically accepting this is the situation you have to deal with, trust that there are many other people dealing with it, you can be okay.
Boy, did I need this conversation about 18 years ago.
Didn't we all, Jackie? Didn't we all?
Sherry, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I truly enjoyed the conversation and got so much out of it.
Thank you. It's always my privilege to talk to you.
And for everyone listening, if you want to get in touch with Sherry, you can find her at deardivorcecoach.com. You can also find her co-parenting course at coparentingacademy.com. And you can also go to divorcedgirlsmiling.com to read articles, listen to more podcasts, and learn more about Sherry. She's on the site and other trusted, vetted divorce professionals. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We'll talk to you real soon.